I'm kind of ticked at Queen Studios, the maker of this giant Batman Who Laughs on Throne statue. I love Queen Studios. I think they're one of the best statue companies out there. But their website description actually says there's 2 portraits on this. 2 heads. And legitimately, there's about 20 of them. Sometimes, too much head is just not good. Who we fooling? It's always good. As the Extreme channel is pushing towards 50,000 subscribers, these are just a few of the statues we are giving away on the journey there. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Welcome to the Extreme channel. My name is Mr. X, and today we are looking at an Extreme collectible, a $2,000 throne statue. This is Batman Who Laughs. If you're unfamiliar who that is, DC has launched a comic line called the Dark Metal Knights. I have a number of statues from that realm. One of them's even a Batman Who Laughs, this piece right here. That's actually made by a company called Prime One Studio, and it's, believe it or not, bigger than this. Maybe not dimensionally, but via scale. It's 1/3 scale, this is 1/4 scale. But I bought this one because it's a throne statue. I absolutely love throne statues. I've done many videos about thrones. Here's a countdown right here, and eventually I'll probably do another countdown. But Queen Studios, who I said in the intro I absolutely love, they came out with this quarter-scale Batman Who Laughs on Throne statue, and it is a lot bigger than I thought it'd be.
That's what she said.
And I wasn't kidding in the intro. On their website, it says that the actual character comes with 2 portraits, and they only gave it 1. But as you can see, there's a lot of other characters on it with a lot of other heads. So enough of that. Batman Who Laughs is Bruce Wayne from an alternate universe, where he got infected with some Joker toxin that kind of turned him into half Joker, half Batman. He went crazy like Joker is. He killed everybody, including everybody he loved. Little Robin demons all around him. And here he is encompassed on a giant, evil, disgusting throne that really epitomizes, I don't know if that's the right word, embodies sadistic, crazy character. Let's kick off the review, starting with concept, which is what knocks this piece out of the park, and the biggest reason that I bought this. You have a base, and on the base it's some type of rock-like substrate, and there's some interesting things on here. It almost looks like it's moving, reminds me a lot of like a Venom piece. Big old stupid nameplate in the front, which is kind of good, even though I don't like it because a lot of people don't know who this character is. And you see all these ghouls all over, and it's unclear if they're actually like a statue or if there's some type of creatures coming up from the actual throne or around the throne. I tend to think the latter. As you move up a little bit more, you'll see the evil Robin demons. He is converted with the toxin all over him, kind of his pets. They're actually attached via chains. There's some on the right, some on the left. You'll see some above him. His throne almost looks like an old cathedral-style aspect. You know, we get a lot of Batman statues where he's on the top of a building with gargoyles. That's kind of what this reminds me of. And he is sitting there, like, just laughing his ass off and pointing and super sadistic, super evil. Initially, I didn't really like the pose, but now that I have it in person, I think it's awesome. As we move up further, there's some stuff on the back you're going to miss here. It's a half Joker, half Batman portrait. You saw that spinning around. And more ghouls, another evil Robin up there, even more sadistic. This is just disgustingly crazy and evil. And it really encompasses this super, super evil character from the DC universe. I love the concept. I think it's a 5 out of 5, especially with the Easter egg on the back. But I do think there are still some issues with this statue, and some of those are design related. First of all, this is 1/4 scale. It is huge. It's one of the biggest 1/4 scale statues I have, and I have a lot of giant ones. But it is probably about 27 inches wide. And I believe it was about 28.5 inches tall. Probably about 20 inches deep with this head sticking out in the back. Now, speaking of that head, I think this is such a cool Easter egg. However, like many statues, unless you display this in the middle of a room, you're totally going to lose out on everything in the back. So while it is cool, I don't think it was necessarily needed. Now, there were a lot of different pieces to this, surprisingly so, and to be honest with you, it didn't assemble the best. Here's the unboxing and assembly to show you what I'm talking about. The box was almost 90 pounds. Crazy huge heavy box. The foam kind of got everywhere. You can see some of the foam right here. And right on top there is a certificate of authenticity, an authentication card. And then also kind of another certificate of authenticity. little plaque that you can put up if you want. 2 layers. Here's the first layer, everything wrapped up, and then unwrapped. And the bottom layer had the gigantic base as well as some of the other components. All right, so Queen Studios isn't a big fan of a lot of different display options or switch out portraits or anything like that. Despite their lie on their website, this is all you get. Now, I don't think you need anything else. However, if I could choose, I would have wanted a different arm position. While I kind of like him pointing out like that, it would have been nice for a different option, so I think that's a slightly missed opportunity. As you probably saw during the assembly, I had some issues, so his shoulder pads don't fit on very well at all. Some of the arms of the ghoul, specifically the one right behind him, don't fit in with his shoulder pad. And then you have some nasty seam lines on those arms of the ghoul. Some of the robins were extremely hard to get in. I feel like this wasn't QC'd at all, so they didn't really assemble this before it left the factory. I believe on this robin, I'm missing one of the tiny little clasps that you use to hook the chain, and they're pretty shitty clasps. They're not very good quality. I could see them breaking really easy, and the directions weren't the best. Overall with design, I do give them some points simply for the fact this is pretty damn elaborate. So it wasn't a simple statue, but in the end, I think with some of the issues, it was a 3 out of 5 on design, meaning it's not bad, it's not good, just somewhere in between. Paint and sculpt. I always have really high hopes for Queen Studio. Now, the problem with Queen Studios, though, is they meddle in everything. They do silicone and polystone and life-size busts and 1/6 scale and 1/4 scale. MCU, comic-based. You know, and realistically, the very, very successful companies like Apple, they will focus on one thing and do it really well. That's why Mrs. X asked, why are we always in the same position? Just get really good at one thing and do it well. So I think that's a big risk for Queen Studios, branching out on everything. However, with paint and sculpt, I haven't really seen a big miss from them yet, and I don't think this is one either. Check it out. So this piece is really dark in general, and even with the bright spotlights I have on it, so it's kind of hard to judge some of the paint because it so runs so much together because it's black and gray and brown, and you're going to see that everywhere. But it's still well done. Starting with the base, they have almost, like I told you, this symbiotic texture, but it's brown, kind of spreading everywhere, and it's almost part of the ghouls, or whatever you want to call those, coming out of the throne. Now, this is probably the weakest part, both for paint and sculpt. I do like it. I like the concept, but it's weird to me. I guess if I had more familiarity with what it is, it would be better, but it's just kind of this plain, almost a lighter brown that just doesn't mix well, in my opinion, but it's still done well, if that makes sense. Now, the back here, you have kind of this cathedral type, almost like it was a stained glass window, and the half Batman, half Joker portrait. This looks great. Not as detailed as you would think. I'd say this is like a 3/4 scale bust. 2/3 bust, somewhere in that range. But the striations in Joker's hair look great. There's kind of a hint of green that you also see on the rest of the base. Underneath those symbiotic textures is kind of a mix between grays and greens and some browns in there, like tan colors. Then the colors they used on it, kind of, you can't differentiate whether this is an actual statue or who knows what it is. It's just an Easter egg. So it looks fine. Skin on Batman looks fine. Like I said, the shame is you're not really going to see this anyway, but pretty cool to have. Now, regarding the creatures, I think they look great. They did a great job on the sculpt. These evil faces right here very much reminds me of some type of horror movie. A little bit of... And they all have different expressions, so I think that's pretty cool. And even the size of each one varies a little bit, but check out their back where their spine is kind of bursting out. And there are these very neutral gray and blue colors kind of mixed together. But thankfully, it does contrast a little bit with the stone and Batman's outfit. Here's the Robins. They did a great job. I do like Prime ones better. Maybe it's because the skin tone is too dark, but I think the sculpt is phenomenal on these. The bony legs, the capes, the way they're flowing in the wind, tattered and torn. Great job on the hair of these as well. Here's the crazy one with his tongue out. Just very cool expression. I think, and again, I think the skin tone is just a little bit too dark. They almost look like undead. But even the his outfit right here, you can kind of see the way they made the gloves look leather. Could have used maybe a few more folds in them. Kind of hard to focus because there's so much going on. But then we get to Batman. He looks good. I wouldn't say he's amazing, but he looks good. I think they did a really nice job on the boots with the sculpt there. Kind of this indented leather and then how it's laced up. Looks really good. Then his pants do have the folds because he is in a pretty awkward position. Now, the boots are this brown color and then you move up onto black and then he has gold buckles. So again, very dark colors, but this is the actual character. The real contrast is his skin and kind of the bloody fingers, if you will, right here. It almost looks like out of place, which we'll talk more about that in a second. But they did do a nice job. Like, look at the straps and latches and buckles right here. Try to focus. It's kind of sewn together. Another styrofoam piece right there. And the portrait is what you come for. It looks good. Again, so much red, and it is true to the character. I love how the teeth are very yellowed and sharp. Just evil, evil. And he has like some, just like on the buckles here, his crown has a yellowing effect. So really a mixed bag. And then the nameplate that, you know, I'm not a fan of. It doesn't even look good in my opinion. It looks very circusy. Maybe that's intentional. But overall, I think sculpt really good. Paint, despite the fact that it's so dark, still really good. So let's grade it. Paint, very difficult as I talked about because it's so many dark colors. However, I'm glad they didn't vary it up because this should be a very dark character. Like we talked about, even his skin and the blood on his skin look almost out of place in this. So I still think it's a solid 4 out of 5 on the paint. Regarding the sculpt, because this is so big, so much going on, I'd say the key elements like we talked about, the Robins, the Batman himself, some of the ghouls, they're excellent. Some of the other parts, especially like that symbiote shit I'm talking about on the back, I'm kind of iffy, but I think it's a very strong 4 out of 5 on the sculpt, if not higher. This is a huge piece, and you know, it's funny, nowadays, 1/4 scale pieces like this was $2,000, and even more when you include shipping. That is a lot of money, and they made 500 of these. So if you're doing the math, $1 million worth of Batman Who Laughs statues. But you get a lot for this. Like I said, dimensionally, this actually takes up more room than a 1/3 scale character. If you want to talk about, well, this isn't really one character. You have the 3 full Robins, all of those ghouls, 8 or 9 of the ghouls, or 10 ghouls, where you have at least half a body, plus the throne itself. even the giant face on the back. I think the value is okay. I honestly think that as Batman Who Laughs and the Dark Metal Knights get more and more popular, I can't wait till their omnibus comes out next year. I think these will be more and more sought after. Prime One Studios, when they made their 1/3 scale Batman Who Laughs, which at that time it was really the only one out there, that went for a lot of money on the aftermarket. And it still does go for well over retail, which is rare for a DC piece. So I think the value on this is still going to be a 4 out of 5. It's different. It's on a throne. Some of the competitors that have been doing stuff aren't doing a throne like this. For me, it'll actually fit in well with my throne collection. I'm going to put him actually right next to this Darkseid right here. And then below him, I'm putting their new Batman, who I'm getting next month. This is also by Queen Studios. Going to be getting this as well. Now, does this have the X factor? Is this a 5 out of 5 statue? I was really on the fence with this one over and over, and I had no idea it was this big.
That's what she said.
Now that I have it in hand, I definitely think the pose, which is what was putting me off at first, is perfect. It's crazy, it's maniacal, and then the throne itself gives us the X factor. So much cool stuff going on, not to mention the giant Easter egg in the back that you'll never see. This is a 5 out of 5 statue, without a doubt. Again, that's not a cumulative score, it's just, is this badass? Will people be drawn to this? I so wish they didn't do the nameplate, though. I should have talked more about that in design. When you take it off, there is a giant keyhole, so you kind of have to have it there, although, depending on the lighting, it doesn't look too bad, I guess. But those are my thoughts on this giant piece. I want to hear your thoughts, because you could win a statue. We will be giving all of these statues away, plus additional ones, at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. To win one of these statues, all you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, you've hit that bell notification, and then just drop a comment below. Every 5,000 subscriber milestone, we are going to do a random drawing and pick a random comment and give one of these statues away, plus some additional ones I'm not showing right now. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Thanks for tuning in. I very much appreciate it. If you like stuff like this, there's tons of great videos coming this month, so make sure you've subscribed and hit that bell notification. In the meantime, drop me a quick like. It's easy, free, and it helps me so much. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.